Today we'll be reading the story Theo the Mouse, A Christmas Story by K.H. Meyers, illustrated by Becca Grace. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, just Theo the mouse. Christmas Eve had arrived, but their tree was still bare. No sweet morsels to eat, not a present to share. Theo thought of a plan he was sure he could keep, but his plan had to wait until all were asleep. And then, just before midnight, he started his quest with his family asleep in their warm, cozy nest. The ideal time to travel is always at night because darkness and shadows keep mice out of sight. There's Theo and his family all asleep. Look at the cat. Theo took a good look stepping into the hall, standing perfectly still near the hole in the wall. Even though it was night, Theo had to take care. Both the cat and the dog could be lurking somewhere. Then he glanced toward the heater where Dimples the cat was quite soundly asleep on her overstuffed mat. As the snoring of Homer the dog filled the house, it was easily heard by the ears of the mouse. There's Theo in the kitchen. And so Theo felt sure there was nothing to fear, and he sped through the hall, then into the clear. To the kitchen he rushed, squeezing under the door. He was searching for crumbs that were left on the floor. But the floor was swept clean and the table was bare. Theo couldn't believe there was nothing to share. He just had to find something he couldn't give up. He'd make sure there were gifts where their babies woke up. Then he lifted his head as his nose caught a smell. Perhaps cookies, some candy? He couldn't quite tell. He would follow his nose, though not sure what he'd find. From the scent, it was certainly food of some kind. So he sniffed with each step as he scouted it out. Under sofas and chairs, past Homer's big snout. Soon he rounded a corner, and what did he see? Decorations adorning a huge Christmas tree. As the light of the moon hit the tinsel just so, all the trimmings reflected a silvery glow. There were ornaments, garlands, and lights on the tree, making Christmas so real and like magic to see. Theo stopped for a while just to take in the sight of that warm Christmas scene on a cold winter night. And up there on the mantel, so high off the floor, were some holiday cookies and quite a lot more. Ooh, they look yummy. And so up through the tree to the mantel he'd climb, but he needed to hurry with so little time. He was reaching for candy and filling his sack when a thump in the chimney made Theo turn back. He abandoned his sack, jumping into the tree from behind a large branch. He made sure he could see. So there's Theo peeking out under the tree. Look who he sees. Soon, a red velvet bag with its gold braided sash tumbled down past the flue and fell into the ash. Then, along with the bag came a bigger surprise, a man covered in soot with twinkling bright eyes. It was Santa in person, that jolly old elf, and he laughed, ho, 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 looking proud of himself. Then he turned to his bag with a twist of his hand. All the presents took flight and knew just where to land. Santa smiled through his beard and he glanced at the sweets. He had never before left behind tasty treats. With a chuckle and a wave, he was up and away, flying high in the sky in his shimmering sleigh. Now, with everything calm, Theo sprang towards the shelf. Was there anything left? He would see for himself. But the mantle was bare and his sack was gone too. Theo's plan was a failure. What more could he do? He remained on the mantle, so sad and alone. Then he thought of his family and he turned to go home. He passed Homer and Dimples, not sparing a look, and the longest way home was the one that he took. What words could he use? What on earth would he say to bring joy to his family on this Christmas day? When he stepped through the door, what he saw left him dazed. He just stood there astonished and truly amazed. Theo spotted his sack next to presents galore. They were all neatly stacked, almost hiding the floor. Look at all the presents in his family. And when Mama first saw him, she hugged him so tight. He began to explain why he'd left them that night. When he finished the story, she raised quite a fuss. Theo, gifts don't make Christmas. It's more about us. There's Theo hugging his family. With the presents all opened and food put away, they agreed that this was surely their best Christmas day. Then, that night with the babies tucked warmly in bed, Theo thought about Christmas and what Mama said. It's fun to have cookies and presents and stuff, but our Christmas is family, and family's enough. So that is based on the story of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. So we're going to read that poem right now, which is by Clement Clark Moore. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. And away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave luster to midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eye should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With the little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came. Then he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my hand and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed in all fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his pack, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. but I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all good night." The end. So this is the author's signature to me, so I could read this book to you. I hope that you guys enjoyed Theo the Mouse, A Christmas Story by K.H. Meyers, illustrated by Becca Grace.